I'm making my first real YouTube video in the defense of suffering. Not exactly my kind of topic to talk about, but here we are. So for our philosophy class, we were tasked with giving our explanation for suffering that we encounter in our life. That is a difficult question for me to answer, and also not difficult at the same time. In my essay that I wrote a couple of weeks ago for this class, I titled it "The Joy of Hindsight." That was the idea that whenever we look back, we can see why we went through what we went through. What was the meaning behind all of it? In the moment, it didn't feel very good at all. It was actually very traumatic. But now I can look back and think, that all makes sense now. God has such a grand plan for my life and for your life too. So for this video, I'll be giving 3 different explanations for the cause of suffering and the reasoning behind it. And then in the end, I'll give my own beliefs and an example from my real life. First, I will be taking a look at Dr. Kate Bowler. She is a researcher of prosperity gospel, and she studied what people believed as the reason behind suffering is that you had done something to deserve that suffering. And in turn, if something good happened, you were being rewarded for being a good person. And then one day, she got diagnosed with cancer. Now, that to me seems like something that is completely out of our control. That was God's plan. But for her, and during her research of prosperity gospel, she realized that she must have done something to deserve this, something terrible. I just don't believe that that's the case. She goes on to explain that she no longer holds that belief, but for a long time she blamed herself for what was happening to her. And she finally came to terms with it, that it was not her fault. Next, we will look at Hart's beliefs for the cause of suffering. And his idea gives peace to some, but to me, I find no comfort in it. He said that he believes that there is no great being that is considered a God, that is controlling the universe, that there is just nothing. There is no reason for your pain or suffering. Now, he goes on to explain that that might give comfort to some because that allows them to not have anyone to blame, that no one is targeting them, and that there is nothing that they could have done or couldn't have done to cause this. Now, I don't believe that for several reasons. Obviously, I believe that there is a God and that he has reasons behind his actions. Next, we will take a look at famed author C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis is a personal hero of mine, and I admire him very much. His views most closely resemble mine, is that in Christianity, there is a reason for why we are suffering, but we will never truly know why. Lewis goes on to explain that there is structure in our universe. Things are not random, things don't happen by chance, and life isn't just unfair. But God has a greater plan that we could never truly understand. So trying to find a reason to our suffering is a waste of time, and we should just accept and find comfort that God has the whole world in his hands and that he is so much bigger than we are. I agree with that last statement, that the world is in God's hands. But that doesn't mean we can't fully ever understand why he's doing something. You know, we could always take educated guesses And we can always try and see in hindsight about our experiences. My personal beliefs is that there is structure to the universe. God is in control, and there are limits to our understanding. I believe that good things happen to bad people, and bad things happen to good people. I believe this to be the popular theological explanation, that there are several different reasons for suffering. One reason behind suffering could be that God is teaching us a lesson. He wants us to learn something out of the heartache. The second reason is that God is punishing us. I do believe that God punishes us when we have done something wrong, but he never does it because he hates us. He does it because he loves us and wants us to learn from our mistakes, much like a father would discipline his child. Another reason I believe that God allows pain and suffering into our lives is to guide us down a different path. He may allow us to lose our job so that we can get an even better one. Losing the first job hurts a lot and causes us pain and suffering and stress, but the new job is even more incredible than we could have even realized. God puts these boulders in the way to guide our path. To go along with that, I believe that God has a plan for others in our lives, and that we just kind of get caught in the middle of that. Not saying we were there by accident, but sometimes God is teaching a lesson to someone else and it affects us. Now, I'm going to give a very personal example of what I believe is God's great plan. For the past 2.5 years, my husband and I have been trying to have a baby. We realized that we both have infertility problems. I don't understand why God will not allow me to have a child of my own. This is a struggle that I'm currently going through. I don't have the benefit of hindsight to look back and realize that's what God was doing. But in a year, 5 years, maybe 10 years, I will have that hindsight. So let's go through some of the reasons why God might be putting me through this difficult time. The first reason is that God is testing my faith. Another reason God might have been putting me through this challenge is to set me on a path. 2 years ago, if I would have had a baby when I was planning on it, I would not be at Bethel right now. Another reason God might have is that this is a punishment. I personally don't believe this. Another reason is that God is putting me on a different path other than having children of my own, whether that includes further fertility treatment or adoption. God may be telling me to take better care of myself. Through these testing and through all of my struggles, I have found several health problems that needed to be addressed first. And this has allowed me to understand my body and take care of myself and to take care of my soul before bringing another person, another human life into our family. And lastly, this struggle could have been so that one day I can speak to others who are going through something similar. I've already been able to talk to people who have struggled with endometriosis, like I was diagnosed in December with, and people who have been going through infertility treatments just like I have, and being able to talk about the struggles and the heartache, but remaining strong in our faith throughout. One day I'll be able to know what God really had planned for me. And in the end, when I get to heaven and I can talk with him, he'll make everything crystal clear. I just believe that the God we serve is so loving and he only wants the best for us. My beliefs don't perfectly align with one of the other 3 that we were shown today, but that's the point. We all believe different things, but at the end of the day, it's all about what you personally believe, and that was my belief. Thank you for joining us on this journey and allowing me to explain and defend my case for the suffering and pain that God allows to be into our lives.